Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party? Got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Time waits, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Death and childhood poverty. Won't somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise.
fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very, very good evening. Sunday the 15th of February 2026. My name is Raj here. This is a Recusant 9 transmission. Let's get on with this evening's broadcast. Okay. First of all, I was at an reform event. It was a reform event in Royton where I live. So I'm from Oldham. There are 20 wards. 2 of the wards are in Royton, Royton North and Royton South. And if you follow my work, you will know that I've been extremely supportive of Lewis Quigg, Councillor Lewis Quigg and his team. There's a team of 3, Lewis Quigg, Mark Wilkinson and Sandra Ball, who all switched sides to reform a few months ago. And this was after we did some extensive work in cleaning up the local branch. Now, I am not a member of any political party. The Labour Party kicked me out, and I'm not sure any other party wants me, really, if I'm honest with you. So I don't say this to you with any party political lens on. But in my town, where I come from, the way in which we need to fight back against both the Labour Party, which has been taken over by a bunch of Pakistani sectarians to all extents and purposes, and gangsters, and on the other hand you've got the Islamists and the sectarians, the Oldham group, the pro-Gaza group, very similar to the sort of green movement you're seeing and the George Galloway type organisation. We looked to work with the Conservatives for a long time. Lewis Quigg himself is a former Conservative, but it became very clear that in Oldham, at least, the Conservatives are not really for helping clean up the mess that the town's in. So Lewis switched sides and set up reform, led reform in the council chamber, along with the 2 independents, Mark Wilkinson and Sandra Ball, who've refused to be bribed by the Labour Party. The other independents we secured, got over the line, have either lost all their courage once they've got elected, or in the case of a number of them, switched sides and just been bribed by the Labour Party, cut deals with the Labour Party and helped keep the Labour Party in power. Now, this photograph that I'm sharing with you has been shared, I think, to mock me or attack me, and it involves a woman called Anita Lowe. So those of you familiar with the politics of Oldham will know Anita. She's an interesting woman, let's put it that way. Has very few friends, I think would be a fair assessment of Anita. Now, at this event in Royton, the man who's pictured next to me, I think she must have took a sneaky photograph or something, is former councillor Stephen Bashforth. We call him Barrelgate, and there's an entire story about him and that. Well, Barrelgate Bashforth, we called him. Now, I campaigned to remove him from power, no doubt whatsoever. As a Labour Party councillor, he was one of the ones we took out, and we removed him from power. Old-fashioned Labour Party guy, removed him from power. And it's not something I'd apologise for. Replaced him with a couple of Royton independents who've been a very, very massive letdown to Royton and the wider borough. Now, it appears, and I go to these meetings because I'm invited, I'm asked, I've supported people to to take over the branch. I've supported people to stand as candidates and go out right now knocking on doors. And I'm a man of my word, I'd like to think. In a world of where people switch sides all the time and whatnot, if I've said I support you, then I will support you. Irrespective of what happens, I will do my best and endeavour to see it through. So I go to these meetings because I'm asked to attend. Sometimes I'm asked for feedback. Sometimes people ask me questions. Sometimes I sit there and I eat my bag of nuts and an orange and lemonade, and that's the extent of some of my engagement in these meetings. Now, in this meeting, Bashforth came up to me and said hello and wanted to talk to me. He's joined Reform. So this is a 20-year Labour Party councillor, former councillor. His wife is also a sitting councillor, and he's joined Reform. And he sat down next to me and he spoke about how the Labour Party he was once a member of is not something he recognises. And he has made a number of mistakes. Remember, this is a man who voted in support of blocking a national inquiry, a public inquiry into the rape gangs in the town. Now, I always say to every one of you, and I've been consistent on this, it's never about, it's more than just about the mistakes you make in life. It's what you do next. So, former councillor Bashforth spoke to me for 20 minutes or so and said he is disillusioned with the Labour Party. It isn't the party that he joined. He has many regrets. They include the way in which Arooj Shah, that's the current leader, Pakistani gangster endorsed, became leader of the Labour Party, leader of the council twice. And he didn't speak out against that. And of course, he's very remorseful, or told me at least he's very remorseful, over the failure to support a public inquiry into the grooming gangs. Now, I am not in a position, and it's not my place, to say I don't believe him, I believe him, or any of that. He sat next to me, he seemed sincere enough, and he told me he'd be out knocking on doors and supporting Reform and delivering leaflets. Now, to all of you who are these, I can see a few of you who are these Restore Britain supporters and Advance supporters. There's no Advance in Oldham and there's no Restore Britain in Oldham. The only Advance in Oldham involves a bunch of dickheads, I'll be honest with you, who we chased out of Reform because they were, they were unbelievable in what they were trying to do and how they were trying to use the branch. So, and in particular to try and criminalise me. So that's what took place when we chased them out. They then went and joined Reform, and now I'm sure they'll go somewhere else. Now, my point here is if a former Labour Party councillor has joined Reform 20 years and he is out knocking on the streets of the area where he lives, which is Royton, willing to have those conversations on the doorstep with people who were former Labour voters and not own up to his mistakes and take whatever flack you want to throw at him. Hiding behind corners and taking photographs of me is it's stupidity, isn't it? Have the conversation with him. If you live in Royton and he comes knocking on your door supporting Reform, have the conversation with him. You make your own mind up as to how genuine he is, and you decide for yourself whether his involvement in Reform progresses the party in the town, or whether it means people don't vote. Now, I'm reading this. He's only jumped ship to keep his snout in the gravy train, and he's not a councillor. And the conversation he had with me was, if he gets to stand, then great. If he doesn't get to stand, then he'll support whoever is standing. So I'm not, who am I to judge other people by the mistakes that they make? I can only encourage people to see the error of their ways and do the right thing for the people in the town that I call home. So, sharing photographs of me speaking with people who've come to speak to me isn't going to cause me any mischief. I will continue to support my friends in Reform. Lewis, the committee includes my friend Gary's on the committee, and I will help wherever I am of use. And if there are Labour Party politicians or former Labour Party politicians in the town who are considering switching sides, well, that's for you to decide. But I'll tell you this, for nothing, for free. By the time we're finished in May, the Labour Party councillors in my town, the only Labour Party councillors in my town, more so, will be just the Asian ones, just the Pakistani and Bangladeshi ones. By the time we're finished, the Labour Party will be exposed for what it is. And I think you misunderstand me, Miriam. I am a campaigner. I campaigned to expose the cover-up of the rape gangs. And I'm not playing this petty, childish nonsense, because I am very clear on where this is going to go. If I have friends in Reform, I have friends in Advance, I definitely have friends who have aligned themselves with Restore Britain, I have friends in UKIP. Nick Tenconi is a friend of mine. I have dialogue with Tommy Robinson. I'm not interested in playing your petty politics. I'm interested in, one, fixing my town if I can, and hopefully that template then can be used to fix and mend other towns and cities that have the exact same Pakistani sectarian Islamist takeover issues. And then my overriding priority in this space has been and always will remain to be securing justice for all those, and now the figure seems to be accepted, over 100,000, some are saying 200,000, over 50 years or so, the cover-up of the industrial scale gang rape of this nation's children. So that's where I am. Give me 1 second, I just need to find something and bring it across if I can. Put my headphones on.
From Pakistan or
Katie Lamb, Conservative. I support Katie Lamb, I'm not a Conservative. Listen to what she's got to say. And this is a snippet, Matt Casey's shared it, but it's a snippet from an interview she gave to Peter McCormack. So listen to this.
Pakistani, either from Pakistan or a Pakistani heritage, who are waiting outside schools, who are waiting outside, know that there are men, Asian Muslim men, Pakistani, either from Pakistan or a Pakistani heritage, who are waiting outside schools, who are waiting outside care homes, preying on young white girls, white teenagers, 12, 13, 14, and effectively kidnapping them and turning them into sex slaves and sexually torturing them. And it is explicit in documents from the time that West Midlands Police said, this can't get out because it will inflame community tensions. And that is a cover-up. And nobody has ever, many people, not enough, but many people have now been prosecuted for committing the crimes themselves. Not one person has been prosecuted for covering them up.
Okay. That has taken us 7 years. And haven't she the Shadow Justice Secretary or something? That's taken us 7 years for the Shadow Justice Secretary. And the Conservatives are the party in opposition. And we've got to lobby and support and encourage them the same as everyone else. That's my job. So they have the courage to go online and interviews and say that. Kidnapped from school gates. Sold as sex slaves. Tortured, abused. And whilst some have been convicted, not enough, no one who's been involved in the cover-up has been convicted. That has taken us 7 years to get this far. It will likely take us another 7 years before we see a single person convicted involved in the cover-up. And that is where I am currently up to with this.
Pakistani
We do. We do. You think so? I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. Any of you remember the former BNP leader, Nick Griffin? Nick Griffin not recently, gave an interview with Nick Buckley. And he talked about the days of the BNP and the NF before that. And remember, just so there's no ambiguity, I'm a brown-faced Muslim man who grew up with stories of the NF to scare you and send you to bed. And experiences of the NF where myself and friends of mine were chased down the street, and if we ever caught, we were beaten up. So there's no it's a lived reality I share with you. And Nick Griffin's been on his own journey, I think, to where he now is. And he's written a piece about the division of the right and how popular the NF were in the late 70s. And how Mrs. Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, came along and basically captured what was the rising anti-immigrant sort of feeling that the National Front were galvanising support from. And just like that, took it away. And he talks about how, as popular as the support was on the street, remember in the late 70s, this was long before the internet, and the beeping of horns on the streets was how you'd measure success. There's a line in the article he's written, and it's on Substack, and you can read it for free. I read everyone. It's how I keep myself informed. I don't think it's healthy just to read people you agree with. Never have. So I try and read everyone. And it struck me. He talked about how there was all this perception of support, but when it came to the ballot box, they lost their deposit, and their turnout was something like 0.3%, 1%, 2% in terms of votes, despite the groundswell of support, or perceived groundswell of support. So I think he was drawing parallels to Reform in Denton, in Gorton, and the support for Advance, and now the support for Restore Britain online. So let's have a look. Let me find it first. At the announcement from Rupert Lowe, a couple of, was it yesterday? So my thing with this was, the timing was first of all interesting. The rape gang inquiry had just concluded. His 2 weeks of testimony taking, and almost off the back of that, he announced that he's launching Restore Britain as a national political party. There's a video, and I think it's it's fair that we listen and we work our way through it. Now, for those of you who are wondering, Rupert and I have spoken to each other a number of times. I have no issue with Rupert. I have nothing but respect for Rupert on the work he's done on the rape gangs. Brave, courageous work. And in many ways, he's helped peel off another layer to this that otherwise would not have been peeled off. So don't have an issue with him whatsoever. So let's listen to him. I think it's only fair.
This process has already started. I have chosen to speak to you today from the farm because places like this represent what proper Britain is about. Hard work, responsibility, effort, duty, stewardship. This is the England I know, and this is the England that I love. On a farm, you don't think in election cycles or headlines or polling. You think in seasons. You think in generations, in what you leave behind to those who come after you. And that's why, here on the farm, I am now launching Restore Britain as a national political party. I'm now going to dedicate my life to finding, organising, funding, and providing hundreds of qualified candidates to present to the British people at the next general election. This process has already started, with invitations being issued to patriots in aligned political parties, Reform, the Conservatives, the SDP, Advance, and more. In local politics, we will work in partnership with localised political parties, such as Great Yarmouth First, that have the best interests of their residents at heart, combining our forces at the next general election. The men and women standing for Restore in that election will not be politicians, I promise you that. They will not be failed ministers. They will not be tainted by failures of the past. They will be from business, from the military, from science, from medicine, from education, from industry, representing real communities up and down the country. Every single one will be from well outside the existing political establishment, and every single one will understand the difficult decisions that need to be taken. Because there are no easy fixes. I'm not going to tell you comforting lies about the condition of our country. I have only ever been honest with the British people, and I will be straight with you now. What is necessary will be incredibly painful. But for the first time in a very long time, voters will have a genuine alternative which is truthful with them about the scale of what now has to be done. The first priority is to control who comes to our country, and more importantly, who stays in our country. Restore Britain will not just stop mass immigration, we will reverse it. Every single illegal migrant will be securely detained and then deported. The message will be unrelenting. If you are in this country without our permission, you will be removed. For the foreseeable future, far more people must leave Britain than arrive. If a foreign national is unable to speak English, lives in social housing, claims benefits, refuses to work, fails to integrate, commits crime, or even actively hates our way of life and wishes to do us harm, then they must leave or be made to leave. Restore Britain will make our communities safe again for women and children. That I promise you. If that means millions go, then millions go. We're constantly told that the economy needs vast swathes of low-skilled migrants. We know that's simply not true. What we need is to get millions of healthy Brits back into work. A radical overhaul of how welfare is delivered. Protecting those in genuine need, but not funding healthy shirkers to live off the back of hard-working men and women. If you can work, you must work. It really is that simple. Restore Britain will be abundantly clear. If you consistently refuse work, then you will lose your benefits. We will punish indolence, and more importantly, we will reward success. We will provide vast economic incentives for men and women to start businesses, generate opportunities, build wealth, and create self-sufficient families. Standing here today on the farm, I know exactly what it means to deal with energy bills, labour shortages, regulation, unproductive paperwork, planning restrictions, tax, and endless uncertainty. The state has definitively become the enemy of the people. Restore Britain will burn away suffocating taxes on work and enterprise. We will slash unnecessary regulation. We will dismantle bloated quangos and the overbearing HR culture. We must crush parasitic Britain. We will restore long-term, stable, logical policy so that businesses can plan and invest and grow again. But Restore Britain is about much more than numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about who we are as a nation and who we are as a people. Britain is not just an economy. Britain is not just an idea. Britain is not just a passport. Britain is a nation. Britain is a people, our people. And Restore Britain will never allow that to be erased. We will celebrate our Christian heritage and the identity that built and shaped this country. Responsibility, restraint, forgiveness, duty, and fairness. In short, a high-trust society. That will mean defending our culture. That will mean resisting the relentless creep of radical Islam. That will mean banning the burqa, outlawing Sharia law, blocking cousin marriages, and reimposing our Christian-based rule of law. A Restore Britain government would legislate to ensure that no halal or kosher slaughter on British soil. This is Britain, and we will do things our way. This political party now exists for one reason: to restore Britain, to make it a better, safer, and more prosperous place for British men and women to raise their families. It will be difficult, and it will be painful. But I assure you, it is possible. I hope you will consider joining me on this journey and becoming a member of our party. It is our country. It is now our collective responsibility to act. Together, we will restore Britain. Thank you.
The grooming gang scandal is a stain on our country.
Powerful, I think. And he spoke about, I think, 5, possibly 6 issues. And he spoke about them in a way that the existing Reform Party has danced around, I think, and hasn't committed in this way. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just sharing some clarity of what he's talking about. And he's spoken with, I think, some clarity there, which is unusual for a politician, but he's not really a politician in the normal mould of politicians, is he? First and foremost, he's talking about getting ready for the next general election, which is 3 years away. It's not going to be any sooner. I hear people say, oh, let's force a vote on a general election, let's do this, let's do that, Keir Starmer might this. Now, Labour will continue, even if they get rid of Starmer, they'll continue until the end. So, we have, or Rupert has, 3 years to develop his party. He's already excluding people. And you can see that yourselves, you can hear that yourselves. He clearly objects to the way in which Reform have brought in members of other political parties. And it's not something Restore Britain is going to do, which is why one of the reasons I referenced Katie Lamb earlier when someone asked. So, that's the first thing. He's not even going to get registered in time for this local election. It's just not going to be possible. For those of you who've asked, even if he puts the form in today or tomorrow, I doubt very much that Restore Britain will be registered for May's local elections, never mind get a suite of candidates. So you can see he's also making reference to, at a local level, he'll be working in partnership, or they'll be working in partnership with local independents. His words, not mine. I want you to just to pick up on that, so you understand what's being said. He's aiming for the next general election. He's aiming for a different type of political class candidates to represent Restore Britain, and they won't be from the existing. I use this word lightly, talent pool. Yeah. He then goes on to his priorities, or Restore Britain's priorities. First of all, he's very clear on who comes into the country and also who is removed from the country. They're not one and the same. So he's talking about illegal migrants and legal migrants as well. And this is the first time there's an attempt to bring this into the sort of mainstream space. So I think, was it Nigel Farage who speculated that it would not be possible to remove every illegal migrant? Well, one of the clear lines in the sand between what Reform were 24 hours ago and what Reform are now is mass deportations of illegal migrants and all illegal migrants. So that's where he's very clear. He's also very clear, and it's something I think he's tapped into the mood of the nation, or the mood of the nation as he's informed, or a combination of both. He's very clear that legal migration does not give you a mandate to remain here indefinitely, particularly if you are not contributing to society. And he's took it further than anyone has taken it before. So, many of us have campaigned for those who are foreign nationals who live in this UK, who've committed crimes, for instance, to be automatically deported. if you're a foreign national, if you're indefinite, you're here on a work visa or something, and you've committed a crime, off you go. He's shifted it. He's saying if you're a legal migrant and you're not contributing to society, or if you don't have the values that align with our society, then you will also be forced to leave. And this includes, if you use the term legal migrant, this includes those with indefinite leaves to stay, work visas, so on and so on. And he doesn't apologize for that, and that's why he says millions will have to go. And on his one of the comments he's put out is this: Britain is a Christian country, and under Restore Britain government it will remain a Christian country. And another of the posts that Restore Britain have put out yesterday evening, it's very short but powerful. A British passport doesn't make you British. Now, there's two ways of looking at this statement, and one is that some of the people who've surrounded themselves with Restore Britain, and actually represent Restore Britain, I don't think just saying surrounding themselves is direct enough, are what describe themselves as ethno-nationalists. And they would argue that the ethnicity of someone determines belonging more than the passport. And what this also shows, I think, again, picking up on the mood of the nation, like that idiot Egyptian guy, the terrorist who hates us and now has British citizenship that the Labour Party endorsed. There's also the truth that simply having a British passport in no way demonstrates loyalty or belonging to this country. And there are people here who clearly take advantage of that. So he's shifting this debate around who belongs here and who can stay here into a different space from the illegal migrants, the boat people, the asylum seekers, all of that. He's even moving it further away from foreign nationals who've committed crimes. He's moving it into a space where those who do not contribute, and then even further, those who do not value. And my position is, on this, it's depend on your wording. It's brave, because it's never been attempted in this country before, that sort of policy. It's never been attempted in this country before, that sort of policy. And amongst the masses, in terms of the British people, it's never a policy that's been well received at the ballot box. So, what did Reform do in response? Let me find something for you, and I want to show you this, because this is how this is going to play out. Because it doesn't matter what any of you think of Reform, how negative some of you might consider, they are a well-oiled political machine, and they have made strides in a way that no one else has. Not in my lifetime anyway. So this is almost immediately Zia Yusuf responding.
Is illegal. We're clear about this. Yes, we need to embark upon mass deportations. That is no longer a controversial position. I mean,
of people that have been here for a long, long time.
If your status is illegal, we're clear about this. You should expect to be deported.
What if your status is legal, but you haven't integrated, you don't speak English, and you are colonising your own local area?
Well, that's where our indefinite leave to remain policy comes into play. So what we have said is our expectations and Nigel's expectations as Prime Minister of migrants in this country on ILR will be, number one, that you speak English to a good standard. Number two, because the current standard of English requirement, by the way, is a joke. It's nowhere near it. So it needs to be a higher standard. We've been clear about that. Number two, you cannot commit crime. And number three, you need to more than pay your way. Right, you need to be a net positive contributor to the economy, and that manifests in the form of a materially higher contribution payment, minimum salary requirement. Yes, we'll have things like spousal routes and things like that. That will almost certainly result in a significant portion of people needing their state. They will be given a period of chance to leave the country.
You're happy to be at the helm of that, because it's not going to make you particularly
Camilla, we don't have a
popular.
choice. The Boris wave is going to cost hundreds of billions of pounds, and that's not even in the OBR's numbers. People watching this programme who pay their taxes, you cannot expect them to, having voted, by the way, for less immigration, for this immigration to have happened, which isn't, frankly, even the fault of the people who arrived. It's the fault of the politicians who allowed it to happen and betrayed the voters. To now expect this country to lurch into, I think, fiscal oblivion if these decisions are not made, I think is unacceptable. So, yes, there are going to be very difficult decisions that need to be made, and we've been crystal clear that we will make them.
Good evening, everybody. Forgive my slightly scruffy farm attire, but I've got...
So, within hours, do you see? Within hours, Reform have shifted their position. And what you will see, if I was playing politics, this is what I would do. What you will see is Reform will pick up on all the Restore Britain policies that are not of the ethno-national sort of foundations, and they will politically leave Rupert and his team in a place where the only policies that are unique to Restore Britain are the policies that are the least palatable amongst the general British public. So that is how that is going to play out. Now, I need to find something else, if you just bear with me one moment.
Some excellent news for all those who are following what we're doing at Restore Britain.
Just give me a second, I just need to find something that I want to play for you. It's too long for me to download, I'm afraid. So so I'm reading some of this. So I'm going through GB News' Twitter feed, and they don't put out, they sure as hell put out a lot of content, don't they? I see June's been on. I think June is coming under a lot of stick at the moment for her exclusive sort of loyalty to Reform, but no, she is what she is, and she's stuck by her views. Her position seems to be that outside of the internet, no one really knows who Rupert Lowe is and who Ben Habib are. Maybe GB News have took this off because it was an interesting interview that didn't really go their way. The reporter was extremely uncomfortable, I thought. Yeah, I'm thinking they've took it off. Let me see if I can find it a different way. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, found it. I want you to listen to this.
On paper, but maybe have Indian background or something, or maybe further than Reform? Because some of your supporters, who I won't name, they suggest something called remigration, which can be interpreted differently depending on who you speak to. But some people are saying, who have praised the foundations of the party in recent days, saying that even people who were born in Britain and are British on paper, but maybe have Indian background or something, or maybe parents who are from Bangladesh, I don't know, they should go as well. They should be kicked out of the country. Is that something that you and the party support?
Well, so 3 points there, Ben. Let's just break them down. So the first one on Reform's polling success. Yes, it is absolutely the case that Reform have been polling well for several months at this point. But I and many other people believe that this is purely because the British people have no other option. Reform is the none of the above vote, because they're just different to Labour and the Tories, because Labour and the Tories between them have destroyed this country. And Reform are the only party currently on the landscape, up until yesterday, that actually looked like they were anything different. But actually, if you listen to what Reform say, if you listen to what they actually believe, if you listen to the vision that they are offering for this country, it's really no different to what Labour and the Tories have been doing to this country for the last 30 years. It's revealed in the name of the party, in fact, in my view, what it is that the kind of philosophy they believe in. And it's reform, right? They actually do believe in the system as it is currently constituted. They just believe that it's being governed badly. But they do believe in the Blairite system of government. And that's what they are seeking to save by reforming it. We say no. We say that this system was never legitimate. The British people never voted, for example, for multiculturalism and mass immigration. And therefore, it's not enough to just stop and reform and conserve these things. They have to be reversed. And a different Britain, an older Britain, has to be restored. And so on that final point, Ben, and this is really important, to that end, yes, we are absolutely saying that we should be deporting all of those living in Britain illegally, of whom there are about 2 million. But actually, when it comes to those who come here legally and who hold a British passport, for example, if they are not integrating into our way of life, if they don't speak our language, if they commit crimes, if they are a net burden on the taxpayer, then they need to leave. It's that simple. And this should not be a controversial view, because mass immigration, as I just said, was never actually given democratic consent in this country. And every opportunity for the last 60 years, the British people have voted against it, and yet it has still been imposed upon us. And so it's not unreasonable to say that the massive demographic change that this country has been through and is set to go through in the coming years has to be averted.
Okay, Charlie, best of luck with it. Appreciate it. Charlie Downs from...
So that's Charlie Downs from Restore Britain, and he, I think, went further than Rupert, and he's clear. Remember I said to you about illegal migrants? Now Charlie doubled down on that and said 2 million, about 2 million, I'll go. I don't think he's got an argument there from Zia Hussein and Reform. They've picked up on that straight away, and they've doubled down on that themselves, so they've occupied that space. Legal migrants, now, they need to go if they're not conforming or contributing. That's the indefinite leave to remain sort of category that Zia Hussein talked about. So you've got those two, that they are both on the same page now. What he's gone on to here, and he said it, those holding British passports as well. So this isn't about legal migrants per se. This is about people who hold legal passports, who, from what I can tell from that interview, in terms of people didn't vote for mass migration, multiculturalism, what I can tell or what I can infer from that interview, and I'm not sure if this is the case, but what it looks like, sounds like from that interview, is that anyone of an ethnic minority origin, regardless of if they're born here, the parents were born here, however you want to spin it, if you go back to the Windrush generation, because that's the sort of starting point of this, then you will have a second tier British citizenship of where deportation applies to you, or in this case mass remigration applies to you, irrespective of whether you've ever come from that place or not. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch play out, because whilst Rupert did not specifically say that, the team around him have taken it to that place. And these people, Charlie Downs, Connor Tomlinson, very, very bright individuals. Let's be clear, very, very bright individuals. These people have got strong beliefs that I would categorise as ethno-nationalists. Now, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? I think if that is the position that they're going to hold, and they have every right to hold that position. It's not for me to say one way or another. If that's the position they're going to hold, it's going to be interesting to see how far that goes with a British public that in the main is extremely tolerant. Now, I don't know if that's what they've said, and I think clarity over the next few weeks or few months will be interesting. And I completely agree with you, Chris. The problem is that people have acquired British passports too easily without having British values. I completely agree with you. But the ethno-nationals historically have gone down the route where they end up in a place where it's a case of who your great-grandfather was and so on, and they both had to have been white British before the Second World War or something, and it ends up in a place where it's not, and this is Connor, bright young man, it is not unreasonable to say the massive demographic change that has happened in the last 30 years must be averted. Legal migrants who are not wanted, commit crimes and impose costs on the taxpayer must leave. But Charlie Downs doesn't say that, does he? He also makes reference to British passport holders now What does that mean? Rupert's second point. Rupert's second point, restore Britain will put the safety and well-being of British women ahead of third world sex pests who have broken into our country and now freely roam the streets. We do not give a, this is his words, we do not give a shit about their human rights. They will all be deported immediately. This follows in part the rape gang inquiry and the way in which, as well as the historical rape gangs, the sort of Pakistani rape gangs of those immigrant communities who have settled here, the new sort of appalling crimes committed by some of those who are coming over, who are dragging kids off the streets. Yeah, was it an Afghan national a couple of weeks ago got convicted for a 12-year-old rape whilst him and his mate raped him in a park or something? You know, these are horrendous stories. Now, it's focused on that. I don't think that is going to be any issue, and I fully expect the Conservatives, even forget Reform, I fully expect the Conservatives will pick up and make sense of this in their own words, in their own way. So I don't think this will be a distinct and defining line difference between Restore Britain and the other parties. So I don't think there's an issue here. What he then goes on to are a number of issues that are separate from the sort of ethno-national sort of themes. Interesting because of his business background, I think. One is about welfare reform and making sure that the welfare state is a safety net rather than a lifestyle choice, I think. And I'm summarising in my own words, but I think that's the case, no? And I don't think he'll get many arguments from the others. The others haven't tried it. The Conservatives did try it, and they failed miserably. We'll try it. Massive pushback from the establishment, from the mainstream newspapers, all of that. And you saw even Labour, to a certain extent, tried it and then gave up on it in terms of the two-person sort of welfare cap and whatnot. So this is probably one of the easiest to get over the line, and let's see what happens there. And he wants to incentivize entrepreneurship and make business pay. Now businesses are leaving the country at an alarming rate because of the current taxation rules. So again, that I think Reform will pick up on, the Conservatives will pick up on. So these two aren't in any way out their views and positions to have, and that's good, because some of this needs to be grounded in a space that the others also occupy. It's what and how he delivers that. And then he goes on to defending the culture. And he's very clear on this, and he's been very clear on this for a number of months now, about halal and kosher meat. And he's clarified it in his small print, because I wasn't quite sure what he meant by that. Now I know, no halal or kosher on British soil. So he will ban, Restore Britain will ban either, and I can't work this bit out, they will either ban the non-stun slaughter of animals, because all animals that are killed in this country are basically rendered unconscious before they are killed. Normal way. But the religious exemption for halal and kosher allows for non-stun killing. And it seems the non-halal, no halal and no kosher position seems to be on British soil, his words, appears to be that you can import it into the country, but it won't be allowed to happen in this country. Now, there's an issue there that I think you all need to be made aware of. All kosher meat is non-stun, so the animal is alive and fully present whilst it has its throat slit. Barbaric in terms of, and I speak from experience. As a child, I've held a chicken in my hand whilst my father decided he was going to slit a chicken's throat. So and this was normal in the places where I came from. This was completely normal, by the way. So I have no desire to witness any of that, or, if possible, avoid that level of cruelty. It will make it extremely hostile for Jewish people to live in this country as a consequence of that. Raja, why aren't you picking on the Muslims? You say, is it because you're a Muslim? No. The vast majority of halal meat is actually pre-stunned. I think it's something like the RSPCA, these aren't my figures, the RSPCA, I think it's at 88%. So let's just see what happens. The RSPCA is clear, 88%. Go and have a look. 88% of halal meat is stunned, which is more or less identical to how the killing takes place in normal meat that people consume. I have a complete understanding of the animal welfare position. So is he on about the stunning of animals, or is he on about the ritual prayer? I don't know. People indeed can import it. The Jews, the Muslims can also import it if need be. So I don't know. It's pick that fight, and I think what I'm saying to you is, if it's interpreted as non-stun slaughter, it will affect the Jews rather than the Muslims. It's not what he said though, is it? If it's confirmed that halal and kosher meat will have import bans too, which means, Rupert Lowe's statement on his 7 minutes or 8 minutes, he specifically says no halal or kosher on British soil. So if it means it can't be imported as well, the consequence of that is essentially it becomes, unless there's mass vegetarianism amongst the Muslim and Jewish community, what that means is it becomes difficult, if not impossible, for Muslims and Jews to live in the United Kingdom. Now maybe that's what Restore Britain want, along with a means of a criminal justice system that treats people that they consider to be foreign with a second tier of rules. I don't know. I think over the coming months you will get clarity, and over the coming months I think you will get an increasing level of backlash on that. I don't know about that, I'm afraid. If Connor Tomlinson claims he's written that part of the policies, it's not what Rupert Lowe seems to have said. You can see I'm trying to be very precise on this because I respect Rupert Lowe. And I understand where he's coming from. I also, have time for the likes of Connor and the others because if I had a belonging to a country like they do, I'm a second generation immigrant, aren't I? My father came to this country from overseas after serving in the war. It's not my belonging here does not go back in the same way as Connor or some of the others. So as the communities around them change, I have empathy for their feelings. He's not just banning halal though, is he, John? There's halal and kosher. Okay, so what happened then? There's clearly a fight taking place because some people see Rupert and Restore Britain as a means of pushing their ethno-nationalist viewpoint, racist viewpoint. And I don't use that word often. These people are retards. They have a problem with natives, and if they had their way, would throw every single one of us to the side to put forward their black mate. He's going back to deal with it. So the likes of Steve Laws and those ethno-nationalists, extreme ethno-nationalists, I think even Tommy Robinson has issues with Steve Laws, consider Restore Britain as a remigrate. Everyone's going back, and we're going to be a completely white national sort of nation again. So you can see Adam Brooks, who's of the right, making reference to him as you're a racist. So by your set of rules on who should be deported soon, to be merged leader Ben Habib should go. Yeah, so I threw someone off here earlier who insulted Ben. Now Ben, for those of you who are saying the Advanced UK Party are going to merge, and you can see I've kept a timestamp on this. This was 20 past 8 earlier, and he'd posted this about 8 o'clock or 7:30 this evening. Let's be honest, democracy is an awful system, messy, unpredictable, likely to result in suboptimal outcomes, but it protects the majority from the tyranny of the minority. We no longer have a democracy. A dictator cannot restore it. He doesn't mean Rupert Lowe, by the way, has clarified that. But this is the point I want you to look at. Advance UK is the way. So those of you who are claiming that Advance is going to merge, you can't merge political parties, by the way. They'll have to close Advance UK down, and then its existing members will have the option of joining Restore Britain. You can't just merge them. He's not for joining, is he? Advance UK is the way. So something's clearly gone on for Ben Habib to post that. And they had, 40,000 members? Took him a long time, 40,000 members. What's Rupert got already within 24 hours, 48 hours, 50,000? UKIP have already confirmed they're not standing down Nick Tenconi. You got 5-6 parties on the right. So I want to show you something. I want to read something from The Guardian, very rarely. Well, look at me. In a ethno-national world, I would not belong. I'm not sure they'd accept my mixed race daughter either. So as it stands, it's very difficult for me to support that viewpoint, and I'm hoping that there's clarification from Rupert. No, those 50,000 are not from within 2 days. So my apologies. They're from the movement, aren't they? They're from the historical campaign think tank. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with the viewpoint you have. I'm questioning whether those policy positions will win elections in the United Kingdom. And I've seen those polls, they're nonsense. I'm sorry, they're absolute nonsense. Those polls are nonsense. The Conservatives won't join that. Like some say, the Conservatives are finished, but the party is the longest running party in the United Kingdom. So let's see what happens there. Reform won't go down that road. So that'll be a clear line in the sand. And let's see if Restore Britain go down that road, because if they do, the other thing they'll have to do, naturally I think they'll have to do, is around the selection of candidates. And all of the candidates will have to reflect their policies. Let's see. Let's see if Rupert is toying and encouraging the ethno-nationalists, or if Rupert is one of them. You've never followed my work. You hide behind a character and you make allegations. I think I'm being more than fair. I'm not fear-mongering in the slightest. I am sharing the evidence that's out there and analysing it in the way I always have done. So, if you want to vote for Restore Britain, then by all means vote for Restore Britain. If you want to join Restore Britain, by all means join Restore Britain. I've not said any other way. The ethno-nationalists don't see it that way, Mark. It's never been really about your skin colour, but it's about the colour of your heart and flag. They don't. I'm sorry, they don't. Ask them. Ask them. Okay, I want to move on to the Denton and Gorton by-election. No, I don't. I want to read this. I want to read this to you. This is The Guardian. I rarely share articles from The Guardian. UK far right lines up behind Rupert Lowe in challenge to reform. Now, this isn't really the bit I want to really talk about, but I'll go through it so you see it. I'll just read the first paragraph. On a cold night in a dilapidated theatre tucked away at the end of Great Yarmouth's Britannia Pier, Rupert Lowe was launching a far-right revolution. Millions will have to go, the MP said, as he pledged a policy of mass deportations, to rapturous applause and foot-stamping from the hundreds of people gathered for what has been billed as the launch of a local Great Yarmouth First Party. In an electoral battlefield littered with failed startups, Lowe's new party is, for now, little more than a pebble in the shoe of Nigel Farage's Reform, from which he parted ways last year after a bitter falling out. I don't think he fell out, to give him his due. I think what was done to him was wrong. I think even the Reform MPs even confirmed that it wasn't their finest moment. A cohort of young right-wing would-be influencers pushing a more exclusive, ethnically nationalistic view of British identity have flocked to Lowe, who had attained a cult appeal amongst many Reform members. Amongst those at his events in Great Yarmouth was Lucy White, an activist and sometimes GB News contributor, accused of racist tweets. Steve Laws, a prominent activist and ethno-nationalist influencer, tweeted, "Rupert Lowe is our leader, get in line." Other figures such as millionaire businessman Duncan Bannatyne and the actor John Cleese have also given approving signals. And it goes on to talk about Advance UK, blah, blah, blah. But Lowe remains a rallying point for others. Right-wing activists and former reform supporters have travelled from as far away as Scotland to attend the event. They included Maria Bowell, an East Riding of Yorkshire councillor and single mother, who was once regarded as a reform rising star and who had driven down with her young son. So she's from Bridlington, yeah. Reform used to stand for something hopeful, but it's clear they won't really change anything. Plus people like me just weren't supported. Boatwell said, I went on Women's Hour and was hung out to dry. I'm attracted now to the idea of independents getting together. So this is where another layer of this is. Just as you saw people joining Reform because they didn't belong where they were, the people who joined Reform and didn't find it the place that they thought it would be are now also moving somewhere else. Interesting times, I think. And the next, I think, couple of weeks will be very, very interesting. I have never described myself as English. I think it would be extremely unfair on those who are of a English ethnic race for me to try and claim that. Particularly so because in the Great British debate, it is the English that have sacrificed the most. You know, Scots can also have their ethnic identity that's historically distinct, the Welsh, the Irish, but the English were, had to push the British identity, I think. So there's some of that going on. So I've always described myself as British, and I think I know what I am, and I'm most definitely not Indian. Paul. I think that's a part of the backlash, isn't it? It's more of the same, or the fear that it's more of the same. In the desire to appeal to the mainstream and take as many conservative voters as possible, and maybe some white working class Labour voters as possible, what's going to happen is people think they've abandoned what they set out to be. And that's where Restore Britain have occupied a space. I think what will happen is, my own thoughts as to what will happen is, Restore Britain will have a fight amongst themselves. Not publicly, not in a nasty way, I don't think, but they'll have a fight amongst themselves where they have to be very clear on what their policies are and what it means, who's allowed, who isn't. And then people will have a choice. Naturally, they will naturally attract people who either believe in what they stand for, believe in Rupert Lowe as a man, or go to them because the other places did not welcome them or did not accommodate them. I'll have a conversation with Peter. I saw his position. I get on with Peter. I'll have a conversation with Peter, but he's not a politician, and Peter's very clear he won't be standing with Restore as a candidate. But I look at Rupert as a man, and I admire him. I look at Katie Lamb. I admire her. It's not because of the political party they represent, but the way in which they conduct themselves and the values that they, personify. I've looked at the web page. They're not explicit. Okay, I can read. Okay. Some light relief. The Labour Party has been referred, Labour activists have been referred to police over by-election gala dinner. So what's happened in Longsight, Levenshulme, in that wedding venue, is they hosted a dinner for all the Pakistanis. And all the Pakistanis rocked up for a free meal. And the likes of Afzal Khan, Lord such and such, everybody, hold on, let me find it for you, and I'll bring it up so you can see the flyer that went out. You are cordially invited to join community event at My Nawab with chief guest Lucy Powell MP. So you can see, can't you, Lord Wajid Khan, Afzal Khan MP, Anil Musrat Asif Butt. Host is Iftikhar Majid. I'm probably now ruling myself out of ever going to the Nawab again, and it's all your fault. So it's one of the buffet places now I probably will not be welcome. Now, what this is about was, for a while now, the Green lot have been courting the Muslim vote. Here's the candidate dressed up in a lovely headscarf with Motin Ali and some nomarks from the local Pakistani community. They all have factions, but these are nomarks, and she was trying to get the Muslim vote, and the Greens have been trying to get the Muslim vote. What they didn't understand is that in places like Manchester, Gorton, Afzal Khan and his boys control the Muslim vote. It's got nothing to do with being Muslim. It's everything to do with the clans. You come from the Bradbury system. And they hosted a meal for the block vote. And the block vote came out for that meal. And what's happened is it's essentially looking like it was a bribe. Labour activists have been referred to police over a by-election gala dinner. You see, they weren't even hiding it, were they? The Labour Party event was reported for allegedly bribing voters in Gorton and Denton by-election with free dinners. The dinner, held at a South Asian restaurant, that's the Nawab, and wedding venue, hosted around 600 people on Wednesday evening and was attended by Labour figures including Lucy Powell, the party's deputy leader. The venue was adorned with posters promoting Angelica Stoggia, the Labour candidate in the by-election, which takes place on February the 26th. In videos later posted on social media, Ms. Powell was filmed telling voters they should support Miss Stoggia, that otherwise we're going to end up with reform in Manchester, and we're not having that. She also said, "We have not got everything right. We have tried our best and we have done some really good things, but I understand we haven't got everything right." This is trying to shore up the vote. Lord Khan of Burnley, an ally of Angela Rayner, the former Labour deputy leader, and Afzal Khan, a Manchester MP, were also at the event. The dinner, paid for by a Labour supporter in the constituency, has now been reported to the police under an obscure piece of electoral law that bans using food and drink to influence voters. Well, clearly food and drink was used to influence voters. Is that correct? Oh. Mate, I'm very clear what I am and what I'm not, and it's all right. You can decide whether you think I belong here or not. I have thick enough skin to continue doing what I'm doing. So, what this was a couple of days ago was the Greens rocked up in town, in the Muslim area of town, and stood outside some community centres, handed out some leaflets and whatnot, and talking about the, Gaza, Muslims, this, that. The bravery, the cartels looked around and thought, who do you boys think you are? Who do you think you are? Sorry, I'm reading some of this and it's good. These are good. Designed to curry favour. Who do you think you are? This is our town, our city, and we control the votes here. And they called a meal. They booked a venue, called a meal. 600 people turned up. You know how many votes that is? That's about 6,000 votes. And that's about 6,000 votes. When I spoke with my friends in the Labour Party, I still have friends in the Labour Party, it's where I get a lot of my information from, last week, they were very clear on the strategy with me. And it went something like this. The Greens just need to be contained with the white Liberals. We're okay with that. They won't get as much as they think. We'll contain them in Levenshulme. In Longsight, we'll stop them from securing the Muslim vote and make sure we secure the Muslim vote. That's ours. Again, done that. And then we will push Reform as the racist party. God knows what they think of Restore if Reform's the racist party. And contain them to Denton. And we know, historically, one, Denton has a low turnout. And two, even if it has a high turnout, the Tameside ward of Denton is lower in number than the big Manchester wards that form part of this constituency. Longsight, Levenshulme, Rusholme, and there's one other, I forget. So, Burnage, I think. So, what you've got is a strategy of scaring the old Labour supporters into presenting Reform as racist, and then shoring up the Muslim vote, and hoping that Matt Goodwin and his team do not mobilise Denton in the way that they aspire to do, because, sorry, the white working class do not turn out to vote in the way that the ethnics do. And mass vote, definitely don't mass vote in the way that the Pakistanis do. And that's their strategy. So when I spoke to a Reform friend of mine, and I have offered my support to Reform in Denton, I'd happily have gone campaigning with them, but they're not so keen on me, I think is the polite phrase I think I'll use. So what will happen is that Matt won't be able to convince enough people that they're not racist enough white people. They were never going to get any other Muslim vote, and so forget that. And Labour, if I was a betting man, I'd vote Labour will win. If I was a betting man in 2 weeks' time, just under 2 weeks' time, I would put £50 on Labour. I didn't know they were standing. I didn't know they were standing. My friend Nick Buckley's standing, and I've had a few of you contact me saying, why aren't you supporting Nick? I just said to you, my friend Nick Buckley's standing. He's standing for Advance, but he's not got a grand campaign there. He's not got the resources, he's not got a grand campaign there. I think Nick would make an excellent MP, I've never doubted that. I went round collecting signatures for him when he stood as mayoral candidate for Greater Manchester. He needed so many signatures from each of the 10 local authorities. Oldham was one of them, and I went round collecting signatures for him. So don't for 1 minute doubt my support of Nick Buckley, but they've got no chance. I think they'll do well to keep their deposit. But I also think it's important for Nick to stand. I'm a Democrat. I believe people should stand if they want to stand. Always have. which Muslims have said the Muslim vote is going to the Greens. Afzal Khan and his boys have just demonstrated where the Muslim vote is going. The Muslims do not vote according to being Muslim. That is a new phenomenon. The Muslims historically have voted according to tribal lines. And if you looked at how this works, if you looked at it in a Muslim context, they are just as divided amongst each other as anyone else is. It's the tribes that is the overriding factor. So let's see what happens. And no, my offer of support was not taken up. So let's see what happens there. But even vote on the Greens, maybe Reform will win it, and I'll be quite happy if Matt wins it. But I think the other thing to bear in mind in this is, of the Reform candidates to come along, Matt Goodwin is the most right-leaning of all of them. He's the closest to Restore Britain and its viewpoints. So let's see what happens. I've got a couple of last little bits to share with you, I think, before I go. He says we've got to 50,000 on Facebook, so thank you to those of you who have been supporting me on Facebook. 50,000, and the one person I follow, for those of you who ask, is of course the Rape Gang Inquiry Team. So that's where I'm up to. It doesn't matter where we've ended up. I support them. I support Rupert. I support as many of these people as possible who support me and support us in securing justice for the industrial scale gang rape of our nation's children. And that's my overriding position here. I'm not a politician. I stood for MP in my hometown, in the main not to be an MP. I stood to raise awareness of this issue and force this into the national spotlight, and that's what we've done for 7 years or so. And that's why Katie Lamb, now the Shadow Justice Secretary, is saying all the things that Catherine, I have got your email. Sorry, I meant to reply to it, but I wanted to spend some time to give it the reply. It's required rather than just a one-liner, so please bear with me. I'll get that. It'd be nice if you did renew your subscription. I am 100% community funded, for those of you who ask me. I am no sponsors, nothing like that. Most of my income comes from the odd cup of coffee that people buy me, or the £3 or the £30 that the majority of those who subscribe to Redwall and the Rabble support me with. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the year from last year when this broke into the national stage, and I've probably lost about a third of my supporters who just haven't renewed or cancelled the subscriptions, and I'm grateful to them for have supported me for the year that they have. And I'm entirely dependent on you. So you decide if I'm of value, and if I'm of value, you decide whether you want to support me or not. And if I'm not, I'm not. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend I'm something I'm not, and I'm not going to be supportive of views and policies, and that when I analyse them come up in a certain way, I'll be honest. I think that's what I'm here for. Is to be honest with you, is to give an insight, and it's then for you, isn't it? So to make your own mind up. Those of you who followed me from all my work in Oldham will always know at the end of the transmissions I would say, well, none of you are stupid. Make your own mind up. And as long as you can look yourself in the mirror and you're comfortable with what's staring back, well, that's okay between you and yourself, isn't it? I am off to London for a couple of days, and then it's half term where I am. I have a 11-year-old daughter, and we are going away, I think, the back end of the week. and I won't be back in time on Sunday night. We come back late on Sunday night. She's in school on Monday. I had to come back on Sunday. Mum wouldn't let me bring her back on the Monday morning. We'd already planned how the first hour and a half of Monday in school was okay, and she didn't enjoy it. She'd like to miss it, but it wasn't to be. Her mother put her foot down, and in that relationship, I think I come. I was going to say I come third. I don't. And there's a dog in the family, so I come fourth. There's her mum, the dog, and then me. That has in the pecking order of decisions. So I'm not here on Sunday night. I have got a lot of writing to do. I'll share stuff. I hope you're finding value with the content I'm sharing with you. Please, if you think I've been in any way unfair to Restore or Ben Habib and Advance or even Reform, drop me a message and let me know. And I will do my best to reflect and say, okay, I've missed this, or I need to say that better, and I'll do the best I can. But these are challenging times for the right, because you've got at least 3, if not 4, different parties. And what we'll find, as 2 weeks' time in Gorton will demonstrate, is how tight these elections are going to be. Please, if you're new to me, or if you're not so new to me and you take value in my work, give me a like, at least like and share this content. Give me a follow, sign up to Redwall and the Rabble, please. Our numbers are pitiful. We're another year in. It's frustrating, it's hard, and have no arrogance or ego in this, but I'm very, very clear that if I had not done what I've done, if I don't continue to do what I do and have my voice amplified through you, then this campaign will end and it'll get nowhere. And if I have a disappointment in Rupert, it's that the inquiry ended taking its evidence on Friday. And the first thing, if it was me and I was involved in that, I'd be announcing, well, these are the private prosecutions we're moving forward with. Not launching a political party, but he's his own man, and I have nothing but respect for him. A very, very good evening.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.